What's up, y'all? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. And first things first, I want to apologize. I was not able to get onto Sabby Sab's show because I don't have very good internet, and I do this whole show on my iPhone. So I do have a laptop. It does not work very well. I'm going to get back on their show soon, and actually, like, they told me that StreamYard doesn't work too well on phones. I didn't know that. So I will have my laptop hooked directly up to the internet soon, and we'll try to get back on those shows soon. They said they'd have me back soon, so I'm sorry. I did what I could. I tried to get back in a couple of times, and after I couldn't, I didn't want to ruin the show by trying to get back in 5 million times. So I just watched instead. So I'll see you guys soon on either Fred Hampton Leftist or Sabby Sab's show pretty soon here. Also, I'd like to update you guys on the book club. After we're done with The Divide, which we'll be done with in a couple of days, there's only 2 chapters left. I think we're going to do Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl instead of the Tupac book. That was by popular demand. A lot of you guys commented that you wanted to do Viktor Frankl first. So we'll probably read that one out loud to you entirely. It's not a very long book. I can do it in probably 4 or 5 episodes, just taking it chapter by chapter. So I'm looking forward to that. That book changed my life, but change of plans. Also, Ian did get triggered by Donald Trump Jr., and he's going to start reading that today and sending me chapter by chapter. I'll see if I can upload those for you as well. Should be a good time. He's just going to make fun of it the entire time. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think it's a pretty funny idea. It's a dumbass book. And if it does work, we're going to keep doing it. Buy books written by doofuses and then just make fun of them the entire time. So let's quickly talk about something that's has to be put to rest on the left. It's so annoying that we're having this conversation again. Hassan Piker bought a nice house in West LA. He's a leftist, pseudo-leftist Twitch streamer and YouTuber, podcaster. And he's Cenk Uyghur's nephew. And so a lot of people have been saying, Hassan, you're not a real socialist because you just bought this, huge house. And they're pointing out the hypocrisy of people like TYT, who have been basically calling Jimmy Dore a grifter and somebody who doesn't believe in socialism because he has a $1.8 million house in LA. Now they look like a bunch of turds because their nephew just bought a house that's twice as expensive in half the time. Now, meaning Hassan is very young. Jimmy's been a comedian for 30 years. So, I mean, it's so nonsensical for TYT to just absolutely rip into Jimmy for years, and then completely flip when Hassan goes out there and he's like in his mid-30s and buys a house that's twice as expensive. So I'm going to tell you what they've been saying to reframe it, and it is dumb as hell, believe me when I tell you. But let's put this to rest. I tweeted this. I don't give a fuck what kind of house Hassan Piker has. I don't give a fuck what kind of house Jimmy Dore has. They're both more or less like lefty YouTubers / podcasters who have done very well. As far as I know, they don't exploit their audience. Marxists, which is what I am, an eco-Marxist, Marxism does not forbade wealth. It forbids exploitation of other people to become hyper-wealthy. But there's nothing that says, and this is just an old right-wing talking point, that it's like, oh, well, in Marxism, everybody gets paid the same, regardless of how much you do. No, that's a gross oversimplification. What Marxism says is that we need to democratize the workplace in a way that the CEOs and the bosses of the workplace don't make hundreds or thousands of times what the average worker does, even though they do fucking nothing all day long. All they did was bring the capital to the table to start the industry or start the business in the first place. That's what Marxism is. It's a critique of capitalism, but as Richard Wolff has said multiple times, the Mondragon Corporation of Spain is very much towards Marxism, very much a socialist corporation. And what they do is just say, listen, you're part of a union here, a worker co-op, actually, and the people that make the most in that company make about 8 to 1 over the people that are just getting into the company, that are just starting off. So, let's say that, for instance, we had a corporation that did numerous things in technology and, agriculture, whatever, which is what Mondragon does, and the entry-level employee makes $100,000 a year because we want to make sure they're taken care of, but the higher-ups that have been there 20, 30, 40 years that have worked their way up through the co-op can't make more than about $700,000 to $800,000 a year. So you have plenty of wealth. It's just not 500 to 1 CEO to worker pay ratio. So I mean, so my take was just like, I don't give a fuck if Hassan Piker has a nice house. I don't give a fuck if Jimmy Dore has a nice house. The day that they start exploiting their viewers and end up with a $500 million yacht, like Jeff Bezos does, he has like a yacht with a yacht inside. Then we'll talk about the exploitation that is happening on those shows. And the funny thing is, too, if you want to talk about a capitalist show, calling the kettle black in this case is like, TYT exploits their viewers more than any other YouTube show there is. They try to merchandise, they take corporate money, they lie to their viewers, they slander other YouTubers and other journalists on the left. Nobody exploits their viewers more for money than TYT. So it's ridiculous when they come out, and I'll give you their take. They said that it's okay if Hassan makes the money because he didn't make this money to buy his $4 million house cozying up to right-wingers like Jimmy Dore did. So, like, all of these congratulatory tweets about Hassan from TYT, all from Emma, from Anna, and Jake, they all flipped and made it about Jimmy Dore. If that's not quintessential TYT nowadays, I don't know what is. So what they did is every single one of them is like, well, Hassan became rich just doing good lefty media like we do, but Jimmy made all of his money grifting and cozying up to right-wingers. For the last time, you guys took millions of dollars from Buddy Roemer, former Louisiana governor. You guys took money from Clinton donors, fascists. So you're projecting when you say that they, like somebody like Jimmy, has a nice house because they grift to right-wingers. You grift to right-wingers, fuckfaces. God damn, it's so much projection with these people, and they're so oblivious to it. They're so oblivious to it. They're so in their own little bubble that they think these things are edgy and they're landing. Let me tell you guys something. TYT's live numbers recently are about 400 to 500 people total. They have 5.2 million subs. That is abysmal. Literally abysmal. Jimmy's numbers live the other night were about as high as I've ever seen for a live stream, if not the highest. He was 17,500 and change. To put this in perspective, other channels that I watch that have something like 25,000 or even as low as like 9,000, like the Fred Hampton leftists, they average about 1,000 live viewers per stream, depending on the roundtable they have. Jackson Hinkle does the same thing, same with the Vanguard. A lot of these people are doubling up TYT in terms of live viewers, and they have like 9,000 subs or less. You guys are fucking pathetic at TYT. You're fucking pathetic. Now, this brings me to kind of my final point on all of this stuff. Marxism and socialism does not ban wealth. That's a right-wing talking point, and it's so stupid that we get this talking point on the left as if, it's a gotcha of some sort. Be like, well, Bernie Sanders has 3 houses, so therefore he must be he's a hypocrite to socialists. That's what the right-wingers and many of the, MSNBCers of the world said about Bernie. And then the TYTs go around and they use exactly that same argument against Jimmy Dore, but they'll be mad when right-wingers use that against Bernie. And then they reframe it when their actual nephew, Cenk's nephew is Hassan Piker, buys a $4 million house, which is twice as expensive as Jimmy's house, and they reframe it as if the only way that you can really grift on the left is if you're somehow cozying up to right-wingers, which is he's referring to Jimmy Dore. You guys are absolutely hypocritical. You guys, it's so obvious to everybody else. My take on it is, if you make a decent amount of money off of your YouTube show and you get viewers that like what you are putting out there and you can afford a nice house, more power to you. I'm an eco-Marxist. I'm not against wealth. What I am against is the hyperwealth gained by CEOs and bosses who provide capital at the beginning of some sort of startup, then don't do a fucking thing, make a whole bunch of money exploiting their workers. Okay? And, Richard Wolff, who's a Marxist professor, he often uses the example of the Mondragon Corporation of Spain. They don't oppose wealth whatsoever, but they have this huge conglomerate of like hundreds of thousands of workers, and what they say is, listen, our ratio from like the higher ups in the worker co-op to the people who are just getting their entry-level positions doesn't get higher than about 8 to 1. In capitalist systems, CEOs make hundreds of times, if not thousands of times, what their workers make and they often don't work at all. Whereas in worker co-ops, the people that have been working there for the longest, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, let's say they make, $800,000 a year, and the entry-level positions make $90,000 to $100,000 a year. Everybody makes a decent amount of money. Everybody works together through the co-op, and you work your way up. And then the worker to boss or higher up ratio never gets high enough for people to make billions of dollars exploiting people around them. And that's the point of worker co-ops, and that's all Marxism is it's a critique of capitalism, and in particular, runaway capitalism. So it doesn't say that Hassan Piker can't have a nice house if he doesn't, create a product that people like. It doesn't also, true communism would eliminate a lot of the markets. It would also eliminate currency and the state in its pure form. But it's unachievable. That's not what anybody really is aiming for. It's more like an ideology, a goal, a way of life. But none of us socialists, as far as I know, are like, no, we don't want anybody to have any wealth. No. That's not what Marxism is. That's not what anybody I know of on the left is really arguing for. That's, taken seriously. But the days of 300 or 400 or 500 or 1,000 to 1 CEO to worker pay need to be over. And that's all I'm saying. So, good for you, Hassan. I dislike you. I think your rhetoric is shit. I think that a lot of your viewers were probably gotten from, he got his name out there via TYT. That's a huge leg up that a lot of other YouTubers just don't have. So, he didn't have to work as hard as some of these other people to gain the amount of followers that he has, but I'm still not against him having a nice house. I'm not against Jimmy having a nice house. When either one of those fuckers has a $500 million yacht with a yacht inside because they're exploiting their viewers, then we'll have a conversation. And it's crazy to me, this is the last thing I'll say on this, is it's crazy to me that like TYT will go out there and act like Jimmy's a grifter. No one is less socialist and less leftist and exploits their viewers more than TYT does. They merchandise like crazy. They tell you to donate even though they just got $24 million from right-wingers and fascists. They sell you coffee mugs. They'll sell you a hoodie that Anna wore for one of her shows and it smells like her. Go ahead, buy it for $500 after this, whatever. No one asks for more money and grifts harder than TYT and exploits their viewers more than TYT does. So it blows my mind, the hypocrisy. They go out there and act like, Jimmy's some sort of grifter and doesn't care about socialism. And then they reframe it when their own nephew goes out there and makes some money. They reframe it like, oh, well, at least he made it by being a true lefty. Bullshit. He made it because he got his springboard from TYT Network. And I'm not saying his stuff is bad, but like he had a huge leg up on a lot of these other YouTube shows by having Cenk to promote him at first, the TYT Network. And nobody exploits their viewers more than TYT does. So it's bullshit. These guys are all, they'll confirmation bias, running on the confirmation that Jimmy Dore's a grifter and a right-winger and a sellout, and work backwards from their conclusion for every tweet they ever had. And that's the only way you get tweets like these that say that Hassan making money is fine. Socialists should be okay with the way that Hassan made his money, but Jimmy Dore, they should be mad that he got a house that's half as expensive in twice the amount of time because Hassan's 30 years old and Jimmy Dore's in his 50s or 60, God knows, I don't even know how old he is. But like, they twist themselves into pretzels to defend Hassan. Oh, when they've been attacking Jimmy for this same thing for 2 years. The hypocrisy is off the charts with these fucking TYT folks. So, my advice to Jimmy is, listen, man, they're trying to bait you. I know that you probably can't hold back on these people, but if you can, the only reason that they're doing this is to try to stay relevant. Their views go up when their beef with you gets worse. So they prod you, they poke you, they try to bait you on Twitter to stay relevant. But if you leave them alone, they're going to flame out and they'll be done, within a year or two, unless they get a whole bunch more billionaire money, which might happen. But still, they're borderline irrelevant right now with their views. So just leave them alone. If they slander somebody else or if they really do something that we can't ignore, we'll go after them again. But as far as making vids exposing TYT or just responding to things that they're saying to you on Twitter, I don't know, man. I would just go let them die in the woods. They're bleeding out. You're only breathing life into them by going after them. Now, You decide for yourself. If they come out and slander somebody again or commit libel, they can't actually commit libel. You have to be able to write. You have to be a journalist, and nobody at TYT is a journalist. Sorry. They can only commit slander. If they commit slander again against someone like, Aaron Mate, like they already have, we'll smoke them. Other than that, let's just let them crawl off into the woods and die. Because they are. That's what's happening right now. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I had to weigh in on that. In summation, I don't give a fuck about how much money you guys make if you have a good YouTube show, so long as you're not taking money from billionaires. If you make it honestly via subs and you have you go on a lot and you put up good content that people tend to like and you grow your audience, more power to you. I got nothing against that. And any Marxist, I think, will agree with you. It doesn't matter. I don't care about these negligible amounts of wealth. I don't care that Bernie Sanders has 3 houses. I don't care that Jimmy Dore has a house. I don't care that Hassan Piker has a house. The day that any one of them has a yacht with a yacht inside, then we'll start talking about how they're exploiting others to gain hyperwealth. And then we'll have a conversation on capitalism versus Marxism. Anyway, keep it fighting the good fight out there, guys. I'll talk to you later. I hope my internet works well enough for me to upload this. I don't know when I'll get it to you, but if you're hearing it now, I finally have my internet back and running. I'll talk to you later.